Hello and welcome to On Point. I'm Casey Contreras. Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016, promising to crack down on immigration across the border with Mexico. Once in office, he tried to end DACA, a program that shields some undocumented immigrants from deportation. So 4 years later, what effect will Latino voters have on Trump's bid for re-election? And what about Democratic challenger Joe Biden? Will his virtual event Nuestros Negocios, Nuestro Futuro and more than $6 million in Spanish language ads be enough to win the Latino vote? A recent Pew study shows younger voters are more likely to be Latino. The youngest generation of eligible voters, Gen Z, is 22% Latino. Compare that with just 9% among boomers. On Point's Kimberly Linares has more on the effect of the Latino vote in 2020.
Thank you, Casey. We are here today with Sara Maldonado, who is the Executive Director and Board Member of Powerful Latinas Rising, Rosa Barrientos, who is a Northern Region Organizer at Chiblads, and Chloe Hidalgo, a graduate student at CSUN who is focusing her thesis on the vote of the Latino Gen Z. We will start off this discussion with Rosa. Let's talk a little bit about DACA. And so DACA is a deferred action for childhood arrivals. The Obama administration started this program to protect undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as minors from being deported. In what ways has DACA opened doors of opportunity for you?
Yeah, so thank you for your question. So I graduated on June 15, 2012, the same day that President Obama announced DACA. And I knew when I was graduating high school, right when I found out about DACA, I knew that my life was going to change forever. And it really did. It opened the doors to get a legal job, get my driver's license. At the time, undocumented immigrants in California couldn't get a driver's license. So I had the opportunity to do that, to travel, and most importantly, what DACA has given me is the opportunity to live without the fear of being deported. And it has opened so many doors that I never thought possible. I remember just growing up and not knowing, what I would do after college, if I would ever do the same thing that my friends were doing, because at the time, I wanted to be like my friends, wanted to do everything that they were doing. And because of DACA, there were so many doors that opened up. For example, I had the opportunity to intern in DC and walk the same halls as legislators, something that I thought was completely impossible. But because of DACA, I had the opportunity to do that, and it opened so many doors for other youth who, like myself, right, we were completely undocumented from one point in our lives, and then we kind of became almost citizens, but without the voting, right? Because we're able to be here legally, we're able to get the jobs, we're able to have like a professional career that we never thought possible. And again, it gave us that opportunity, and it continues to give us that opportunity to live without fear of being deported from our lives here in America.
The Trump administration has tried to roll back DACA, but so far it's been blocked by the courts. Has the Trump administration changed the safety DACA has brought and changed into a world of fear and anxiety?
3 days after June 15, the Supreme Court ruled in our favor. They basically said that this administration did not have the right to terminate the program the way he did, and that was a huge victory. But it was also a fickle victory. And what I mean is that even though they ruled in our favor, they still gave the Trump administration the correct way to terminate the program. And through this victory, we were waiting for USCIS to give us that green light, right? To say, okay, those new applications could start coming in, advanced pro could start coming in. And so we waited an entire month. And at the end, we get the administration going against what the Supreme Court said. And so in August, they put out a document stating and completely dismantling the program as we know it. So now instead of 2-year renewals, we have to renew every year. That's 495 $495 every year. That's almost $1,000 for 2 years, money that many of us do not have. And again, it puts us in risk of our work permits being expired, right? Even though we have to wait 150 days, we're seeing that it takes USCIS a lot longer to approve our work permits. That's what's on the line as well this year. This election is if we continue the way we're going, this administration is going to completely terminate the program, and they're already doing this through this memo by completely dismantling it from its 2012 version.
That takes me on to my other question. What impact has the administration border policy family separation build the wall has had on the Latino vote?
So I think for the Latino community, one of the biggest issues that they really care about is immigration, right? And like I mentioned to you early on, before this administration came into power, we saw not just the attack on DACA, but the attack on the entire undocumented community, saying degrading words and really attacking us. And we've seen it firsthand. We've seen it from his first 100 days that he came into this administration. His attack was through the entire undocumented community, not just for the Latino community, but other nationalities as well. And like I mentioned to you, because immigration is such a huge topic for the Latino community, that is one of the biggest things that is at stake for us, and one of the biggest reasons why we should go out voting, because this administration is not gonna end. It's not going to end, right? And these last 4 years have been horrible for people like myself who are undocumented. And if we continue 4 more years of this, it's going to get even worse for us. So what's at stake is our lives, is our values, and our families.
I'd like to continue on with Chloe. Can you share with us a little bit about the research and statistics you've found through your thesis?
Yeah, hi. So
Hi.
it's been definitely interesting. The research that I found, there's not a lot of research done on Gen Z Latinos, which is something that I struggle to find. I think with this election coming up, we will be able, after the election, we will be able to have more specific numbers as to how many Latinos vote. But I do know that there are 32 million eligible Latino voters, and that in the last election, there was 22% of Gen Z Latinos voting, which is, it's still not a lot. And it kind of makes sense because they are a new group that is voting. Many of them, this will be on November 3rd, they will be voting for the first time. So it makes sense as to why their numbers are lower. We are hoping that after the election day, we see this number increase, because we are currently, as Latinos, we are the smallest group of minorities that votes. In the last election, we were only at 48%, which is like less than half. And, there's a lot of us here in this country that are eligible to vote. So in the last election, of all the Latinos we have, it was 13.3%. So it's still like our numbers are not wow, and in comparison to other ethnicities. So it's something that as a community, we need to bring awareness as to how important it is for us Latinos to vote.
So what specifically made you choose this as part of your thesis, the Latino Gen Z vote?
So like I was saying, like Gen Zs this is going to be like their first time voting, and there's not actually like a lot of information on young Latino voters. I think like as I was doing my research, the most information I could find, like the most recent, was on the last election, not the last one, but like Obama. I think Obama really made this platform for us young folks, like us millennials. And he kind of made it interesting in the fact that, okay, it's like we actually need to reach out to young voters. And because before then, presidents weren't really interested in marketing towards us, not presidents, I'm sorry, candidates. So with Obama, it all started with social media. And then in the last election with Trump and Hillary Clinton, they started like marketing more towards us, and that's where we kind of started saying, okay, how are millennials and how are Gen Zers voting? And with the 2016 election, there was a couple of Gen Zers that were able to vote, kind of like the ones that were born more towards like 1997, 1998. And now in this election, we're going to start having the ones that were born in the 2000s, 2000, 2001. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it all works out.
Through your analysis, have you learned anything about the Latino electorate?
Uh, like, do you mean like the people that are going to be voting?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of they're as I was like doing my interviews over the summer, because I am doing a podcast right now to kind of like see what they're thinking. I did find that the majority of my Gen Z voters are concerned about global warming. That's like their top priority, and I think it's pretty reasonable because we only have one Earth, and it's like we already know we're starting to see the effects of climate change in our everyday lives, especially with the fires going on here, even with hurricanes and whatnot. So that has been a main concern, and like we're starting to see like the youth worldwide try to do protests, talking to the governments and to create these changes, as well as specifically for Latinos, immigration is a big issue. A lot of us do come from families that are either undocumented or came to this country undocumented. So, our vote is kind of their voice as well. So they do wish for better immigration policies, such as like reformations and, so they are hoping for that. And they know that with the Trump administration, they're not, they don't really care so much about it. Like Trump has been very vocal about deporting, undocumented people, and whereas the Democrats, they're more about creating a platform to help undocumented people.
I wanted to ask you, what does the slogan "Make America Great Again" mean? Can you explain a little bit more of like your findings on that?
So with the Make America Great, it's obviously, Trump has been talking about this, about how about his idea of what how America would be great. And with him, it's just like, Latinos pretty much not being here. He's been very vocal about his hatred towards Mexicans, saying that they're bad hombres. And, obviously with him trying to create this wall that's unnecessary, it's damaging like the natural habitats. It's creating like, it's kind of reminds us back to like the 1960s with the Berlin Wall. So with that slogan, Latinos realize that, okay, Trump isn't here for us. He's not trying to help us. So that kind of made the Latino voters in 2016 go towards Hillary Clinton. And, Democrats, like the Democratic Party is not like one of the favorites for Latinos, but since there isn't any other party that really tries to represent our needs, we tend to go more for them.
Sara, I want to ask you some questions as well so you could like feel included. So I did notice that you are completely submerged into the issues that the Latino community is currently facing. The stories written on the Powerful Latinas page highlight women of color and important issues like voting and census. Can you describe how these topics are chosen?
Powerful Latinas Rising is essentially really rooted in the power of storytelling for activism. So we have about 30 Latinas from across the country who come together every month and think about what Rosa was talking about, some of the issues that our families are facing in our everyday lives, including immigration, including this election cycle, and just everything that affects us, career, family, relationships, all of that. And we think about, what are the stories that really impact our community, and how can we include that in a way that's kind of easy to get information and get the resources that people need, while also including entertainment. So I think most people are not really excited about reading, dissertation papers every day. I think it's really more about like digestible pieces. And so we kind of bring those two things together. And so, recently we've been doing a lot of work around kind of the really important hot topics to our community and how they're affecting us, so that we can really garner more Latinas to go out and vote. You know, in 2016, there's about 5.5 million Latinas that were eligible to vote that were not registered and did not vote. So that's a huge number. And I think the more information that we can get out there, the more that we can mobilize our community to get the vote out.
How does your organization serve as a resource to the Latinx community?
Yeah, so we have a variety of things that we do. Obviously, our social media content and our website content are one or two of the platforms that we have. We also have what we call Julia's List, which is a directory of Latina-owned businesses. And we really, our focus is to amplify our voices and show the great work that our community is doing. Which is actually been, incredible to get to know leaders and business owners from across the country and seeing them come together. We also host different Zoom events. So actually this Saturday we have a workshop about called Politics and Self-Care. So it's all about, making sure that our cup is full so that we can give to others as well.
And how exactly are you using your platform to push young voters out to vote?
So we've been doing kind of like a weekly roundup of different stories from across the internet. And, we do all the fact checking, verifying, and make sure that they're credible sources, and then post through social media. I think a lot of our, especially our young people, there's, a lot of brand loyalty. And so we want to make sure that the folks who are coming to us because they're interested in our graphics and all the fun stories that we do write are also getting the information that maybe they wouldn't be seeking out through CNN or through a BBC. And so we kind of compile all that information together and put it in a more fun, digestible way for them to get that. And then we're also, doing other kind of social media initiatives with different like voter plans and, making sure that people are really thinking about like, what's their plan to make sure that they vote. So are they going to have their mail-in ballot? Are they doing absentee ballot? Are they going to go the day of? Are they going to do early voting? So just thinking through those logistics to make sure that they're not, waiting till November 3rd to find out what it is that they're going to do.
With the Latino population being up for grabs this upcoming election, what difference do you think your vote can bring?
Especially as an organization that truly believes in the power of voice, I think it's everything. It's kind of like what Rosa was saying. If we're not going to go vote, then we're literally on the table and we're up for grabs. So I think it's really important that each individual makes their voice known and makes sure that our country is going in the way that we each want it to go, and not letting other people be the decision makers for us.
And in 2018, 11.2 million Latino voters voted in the midterms. That same year, women made history. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she was the youngest person to be elected into Congress. In what ways do you think that Latinas can change the 2020 election?
I think it's a very interesting election, right? Because there's a lot of different elements. I always remind people that the Latina community is not monolithic. We are very diverse, with very diverse backgrounds. And I think Latinidad is very complex in how, where our roots are, how we view the world, and what our perspectives are. And I think that will play a really big role, especially, the more Latina voters we get registered and actually at the polls. I think that we'll see that shape out. But I think that it's kind of hard to say that the Latina vote will do this or that, because I think we're a really complex community and we can really see it shape out in many different ways. And I think that is one reason why we need to get as many Latinas registered to vote, because we don't know. There's 5.5 million silent people. We don't know what they're thinking or what they want to see happen.
Rosa, I did have more questions for you.
Yes.
How exactly is Chirla ensuring that people are going to go out and vote during this election?
So, as you know, due to COVID, we had to completely switch over the way we're reaching out to people. So, what we're doing right now is we're doing phone banking. But what's different that Chiblads does is that it's voter like us talking to people like us, right? And it's most of our volunteers are undocumented. We have mixed status. Um, Folks of mixed status making calls, but I think it's so special when you have undocumented people, DACA recipients who are making these calls, right? Even though we do not have the power to vote, we do have the power to use our voices and talk to our neighbors and tell them the importance of voting and what's on the line, which is exactly what we're doing. And what makes our program so special that we're not just calling them right now because it's election year, but we call them when it's not election year. We like to involve them all the way around. And through Chibla, we have our high school students, we have our college students, we have our adult bases that are making calls to throughout the state with their own neighbors. And the second part is that even though we're reaching out to the community, we're also texting our own friends. We're telling them, hey, have you voted? Do you know how to vote? Let me send you a voter guide. And Chibla does have, Chibla and our Chirla Action Fund, we have a voter guide, which is a suggestion of ways that the community can vote for the different propositions in the state of California. And we do it right with the values in mind of our community, making sure that whatever propositions that we're supporting that we do want to pass, they're for the benefit of the Latino community. And right, this is an open invitation for also for anybody, right, that wants to get involved. We are doing phone bankings every Saturday, Sunday, different times throughout the week. So if any of you want to get involved, now is the time. We're 20 days away. Our volunteers are hard to work. I'm also doing calls to my own community members. So anybody out there who really wants to make a difference, like please reach out to us and we'll get you started on a phone banking session.
So we do know that Bernie Sanders won the California Democratic primary thanks to huge support from Latino voters. Do you Has Joe Biden been able to tap into this support for the general election? And that goes geared towards you, Rosa.
So I think in general, right, candidates have to do a lot more to reach the Latino community. They're the ones who are largely ignored, and it is a sleeping giant. And um, I think Sara was the one that mentioned that there's 32 billion voters, Latino voters that are eligible to vote. So we need to do a lot more. And I don't think it's just about the candidate doing this work, but it's up to us as a community to change the culture of voting, right? Which is something that I think is completely different in our culture because a lot of U.S. citizens, they're brand new Americans. There's a lot of children of immigrants who are eligible to vote, but they don't have that culture. So it's up to us to really instill that culture and that tradition to get out the vote. And it's up to organizations, right? Organizations like the one that Sara has to reach out to the people who are often forgotten. Because if when these candidates forget about our own needs, we have to make sure that we're educating our community and that we're getting them out to vote to ensure that we get candidates who truly do care about the Latino community, who truly hold the Latino vote. I mean, that hold the Latino values and are going to ensure progress for us, right? We don't want a repeat of the last 4 years where it's a constant attack on us. We need a candidate that's going to support us and that's really going to continue opening the doors for us.
Sarah, I'd also like to ask you that question.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot more work to be done. I do think there's definitely room for improvement, but I think we will find out on November 4th.
What are your thoughts on this question, Chloe?
Like you said, Gen Zers definitely big fans of Bernie Sanders. So I think a lot of them were disappointed when, he resigned, but he is endorsing Joe Biden. So I think that gives Joe Biden a good leeway as to getting the Latino vote. He previously was the vice president for Obama. Latinos, did like him. I know they had some not concerns, but they weren't fully happy with him and how he handled the immigration situation. Like, he did offer DACA, which is great, but some do believe that he could have done more, as he had promised throughout his campaign. But, with Joe Biden and now with Kamala Harris on his side, it could really change it. We're seeing that the Latino community does do a lot for us here in the United States. So, it's time for us to give them the voice and stuff. So I think it looks good on his end. So
I'd love to continue this important conversation, but this is all we have time for. Thank you for joining me today and sharing your viewpoints on the importance of the Latino vote and what factors come into play with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful day out here. Sunny today with light breezes, giving way to clouds in the afternoon. We could see some light precipitation to moderate precipitation later on, followed by powerful storm-like conditions. 90 miles per hour winds are expected. Authorities are asking everyone, stay indoors. Come on, that's it. Let's go.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Do you know what to do?
Yes.
Bring it back to me. Then I'll give you your money.
Frank Thomas, you are under arrest for the theft of trade secrets. Come with me.
Bye-bye, Frank. Theft of trade secrets is illegal.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Thank you for watching On Point, and thank you to our panelists for sharing their perspectives. You can follow us on social media at CSUN On Point. You can hear our show rebroadcast on the radio on 88.5 FM KCSN on Sunday morning at 5:30. You can catch us on LA 36 and on Santa Clarita Valley Television. To get more information about our show, go to CSUNTVnews.com. For producer Sofia Alesios, Savannah Birchfield, Amanda Alvarado, and moderator Kimberly Linares, I'm Casey Contreras. Thanks for watching.